Let's get to the advisory now. And my next guest says, everybody needs a personalized plan. So that's you and you and you, all out there as investors. You need to understand your risk tolerance and how capacity can change your outcome. So getting us across it all is LaMonica from Morningstar, who joins me now. And Mark, you have a book in front of you. We just keep the camera wide for now.
I do. Shameless plug. I wrote this
right.
with my amazing colleague, Shani. She is in Paris and London, so obviously very jealous that I'm here. But yeah, it's a book where we've talked a lot about investing, and we think that's something that people don't pay enough attention to. People are very focused on investments, but not really that process you go through.
All right, so what is the process? I said personalized plan. What does that even really mean?
Exactly. Well, I think that we hear a lot through the media. We hear about this investment is good, this investment is bad. And really what we encourage people to do is figure out what you're trying to accomplish, so your goal, figure out an investment strategy designed around that goal, around your temperament, and then use that to go out there and judge all of these different investment options you have. So really putting structure around the process.
And that would be determined in part, I suppose, by what phase of life you're in, and the easiest way to characterize that, I suppose, is age?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important, but I think we all have very different goals. You know, we all need to retire. That's obviously a common goal, but everybody pictures a different type of retirement. Everyone has different circumstances. So I think incorporating all of that all those personal things into a plan is really important to be successful.
So what is the difference? It was sort of in the intro there, but I don't think it was clear. What is the difference between risk tolerance and risk capacity?
I think that's a perfect example. So risk tolerance is what we hear about a lot. And that's really coming from an industry that defines risk as volatility. Now, we don't think that that's true. We think risk is not achieving your goals. And so instead of filling out a risk tolerance questionnaire and talking about how you would respond to different levels of volatility in your portfolio, risk capacity says, what do you need to do to achieve your goal? So if we're speaking in a pure investment standpoint, you need to achieve a certain return to get to your goal. Now, different investments have different expected returns, they have different levels of volatility, but we're really telling people focus on your goal and focus on the return you need. And just having that information and that structure can help you withstand volatility, because people do make a lot of mistakes. But I think if you know where you're trying to get, when the market drops, you can react appropriately to that.
So I'm thinking about some of the questions that we all get asked when we're putting and choosing a super fund. What's your risk tolerance? You know, you go growth, high growth. Is that sort of what you're talking about? Even at that step, you should be thinking about your risk capacity?
Absolutely. So that's a great example. So if we look at Ozone Super, and Ozone Super is the largest super fund in Australia. The average age of a member is 42 years old, and 90% of the members are in a balanced option. And that might be appropriate for some people, but we think a lot of people are picking balanced because it's kind of in the middle, it sounds good. They don't really think about what they're trying to achieve. And if we go back and we look at returns on Aussie Super, their high growth option versus their balanced option, so in just modeling out $10,000 a year over 30 years, well, you would have 18% more money if you were in high growth. And I think maybe framing that around what returns you need to achieve your goals will help people, as I said before, deal with that volatility and make the right choice.
Interesting. So many Australians might be in the wrong super fund?
I mean, I would expect that they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, if we look at that average age of 42, I would think most people who still have very long time frames until retirement should not be in a balanced fund where, the asset allocation moves around a little bit, but the target's about 25% in defensive assets.
What is the rule of 72? I think that's discussed in the book as well.
Yeah, so we tried to have some practical exercises in the book.
Yeah.
And the rule of 72 is a way we tried to get people to think about risk capacity versus tolerance. So the rule is very simple. If you want to find out how long it takes to double your money, you take your annual return and you divide 72 by the annual return. So 10% annual return, you double your money in 7.2 years. And the exercise we asked people to go through was to think about how many doubles they needed to meet their retirement goals. Now, people will be different, but we've modeled out that the typical Australian probably needs 5.2 doubles to get to their retirement goal. And there are obviously a lot of assumptions in that, but if you look historically at returns and adjust them for inflation, for cash, you won't even get to one double. For bonds, you'll get to two doubles in the lifespan or the working span of the average Aussie. And so I think when you frame it that way, people who think they're doing the right thing, who are being conservative, investing in cash, investing in bonds, they might have that mix off when they frame it around what they need to get to that goal.
So it's about having your goal, framing it, and taking action to achieve those goals rather than just focusing on whether BHP is up to date and Woolworths is down and what my portfolio has done in the past month.
Exactly, and these hypothetical scenarios about how you will respond to volatility, which it's very difficult for anyone to figure that out beforehand.